cooked and ate a young horse to survive, one of their own horses. And that's the name, Cold Kill Creek. So during the crossing of the Lolo Trail, after eating all of their candles, the expeditions camped near a small creek to rest. They were so hungry the men killed, cooked, and ate a young horse by the small stream, which still today bears the name Cold Kill Creek. Now it took the expedition over 2 weeks to cross this Lolo Trail. And just so you know, 2 more colts were sacrificed for their hunger pains. 2 more colts were sacrificed. Well, they're lucky they had colts, because if you ever heard of the Donner Party, when they were traveling over a pass in California, they didn't have any colts to kill and eat. So what did they do?
They ate each other.
They killed each other, ate each other. So we didn't have to go to that point, but I'm not sure it wasn't a thought process. So again, it took the expedition about 2 weeks to cross the Lolo Trail, and 2 more colts were killed for hunger pains. Once the men made it successfully over the Lolo Trail, they made contact with another Indian tribe, the Nez Perce. The Nez Perce. So once they got through the Lolo Pass, they made contact with another Indian tribe, the Nez Perce. And they were a friendly tribe also, and because of the good relation between the expedition and these Nez Perce, the expedition stayed with them for 2 weeks to kind of rest and recuperate from that long drag over the Lolo Trail. So after crossing the Lolo Trail and getting into flat land, so to speak, they made contact with another Indian tribe, the Nez Perce, and because their relations turned out very good with the Nez Perce, they stayed there for 2 weeks. Now, during that time, the Nez Perce were very helpful. They supplied the expedition with dried salmon to take with them, because they were fishing on the Columbia River, where they were pretty prevalent, some other rivers. So they gave them some dried salmon. They also gave them some plants to eat, fixed them up a nice salad, I guess, I don't know. Gave them some plants to eat. And they allowed them to cut down 5 trees, big trees. Why would they cut down 5 big trees?
New canoes.
Not for fire, what?
New canoes.
To make canoes, to dig them out and make canoes. Okay? And they basically told Lewis and Clark, listen, disband your horses. You can't get there. You're better off using these canoes and floating to the Pacific. We know, we've been there. So disband your animals, get on these canoes that you just dug out, and use the water routes. Okay? So use the water routes. And I'll tell you the water route they were directed. The expedition was told by the Nez Perce, get on the Clearwater River, float down the Clearwater to the Snake River, and then on to the wide Columbia. So they got rid of all their pack animals, etc. They dug out these 5 canoes, and they got themselves on the Clearwater River, which then took them to the Snake River, which then took them eventually to the wide Columbia River. So they travel down the Clearwater River, they travel down the Snake River, they hook on to the Columbia River, and they travel this water route for about 640 miles on the Clearwater to the Snake to the Columbia, and they go about 640 miles. It takes them about 2 months to get those 640 miles, and what happens to the water?
Turns to ice.
No! Where are we going, dear? It gets salty, and they know they're getting close to the Pacific Ocean. So they get on the Clearwater, they get on the Snake, they get on the Columbia. They travel about 2 months, about 640 miles, and they notice that the water is starting to get salty. So they know they're getting close to the ocean. On November 24th of 1805, November 24th of 1805, the Corps of Discovery reaches the shores of the Pacific Ocean after 22 long months of travel. It will take them a lot less time to get back than it took them to get there. 22 months, arriving on November 24th, 1805. They had traveled 4,162 miles. 4,162 miles from the mouth of the Missouri River in St. Louis to the banks of the Pacific. Now, this is kind of a cool story. when they arrive, they allow the members of the expedition to vote on the campsite that they're going to stay for the winter. Because they're going to stay for the winter, and then when it's spring comes, they're going to take off and go back. So they get there on November 24th, they're trying to find a cool site, and they decide to vote on it. So the group votes on a site, and they call it Fort Clatsop. Fort Clatsop. And it was named after a local coastal Indian tribe that was in that area. And if you care about the location, I don't know how much you were travelers, it is at present-day Astoria, Oregon. That's where Fort Clatsop is. Anybody been in that area? Yeah. So that's where Fort Clatsop is. So the expedition votes on the campsite for the winter. They choose a site. They name it Fort Clatsop in honor of the local coastal Indian tribe there, and it's near present-day Astoria, Oregon. Now this is kind of a cool, nostalgic part of American history. This vote became the first time in American history where a black man and a woman had the opportunity to vote. York and Sacagawea. So this is the first time in American history that both a black man and a woman were allowed to vote when they voted on the spot known as Fort Clatsop. So they get there and they have really an unusually hard winter. Okay? They were there almost 4 months, about 4 months, which would be how many days? How many days is 4 months? 120. Guess how many days out of those 120 it did not rain? 12. Only 12 days out of 120 did it not rain on those people at Fort Clatsop. It was considered a very hard winter. Okay? All right, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the next subtopic, and I'm just going to get you to write the topic down, and we'll finish this tomorrow. The return trip back to St. Louis. The return trip back to St. Louis. Well, I've got to tell you a great story about digging out canoes. I mean, it's incredible. So I want you to kind of get your stuff together, get your clicking of your binders put together so we can all focus in on this historic story of digging out canoes. It's really a good one. So go ahead and get your stuff put away, and we'll talk about that. As you're doing that, I would tell you that we're going to have a test next Tuesday. So we will lecture tomorrow, we will lecture Thursday, we'll have a review Monday, we'll lecture tomorrow, we will have a video Thursday, we will have a review Monday, and a test Tuesday. Okay, that's where we're at.